grow on trees, they bear fruit, so I work.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming back again to this second session of our Composition of the City online programming this summer. As you know, my name is Olivia Doig.
And I'm Aasha Francis.
And our second set of interviews today, I will be interviewing Jasmine Sims, who is an amazing poet who's based here in Chicago.
I'm happy to introduce Michelle Isaac. She's a Chicago-based composer and orchestrator with a knack for the musically witty and whimsical. So she really ties in her personality and the things that she's drawn to in her orchestration. So here is my conversation with Michelle Isaac.
Hello, everyone. Greetings to everyone out there in virtual land. I am Aasha Francis, your teacher for Composition of a City, and I'm so pleased to have a very special guest with me today, Miss Michelle Isaac. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I'm super excited. I've read your bio. I've done a little research on you. So I just wanted to hop into some questions. How do you make sure that you kind of like control and steer your narrative when it comes to your music, or do you do that?
Ooh, that is such a good question. Okay. I think my answer would be you have to control it to the best of your ability. And use the craft that you have to accurately express what you're feeling. And then at that point, it's kind of out of your hands as it's communicated to others. And your hope is that what you're trying to express is picked up. And I think the truth of it is an artist can go to infinite lengths to make sure that their point is getting across. And I think some really amazing art is created that way, and it's very clear. But otherwise, I think that as long as you as an artist are expressing something authentically and that's genuine with who you are and your integrity, then someone, at least one other person out there, is going to pick up on that and get the actual message. And I think that's the important part, because of course there's going to be however many other people who aren't going to get it at all, or people who will use it the wrong way, or people who just won't like it. But you can't really worry about that too much. You just got to have faith that someone's going to be listening to what exactly you're saying.
So how are you able to kind of identify what your sound is and your style is and make that kind of distinctively you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll say that the witty and whimsical and the songs with my nieces and nephews all stemmed from, honestly, being in graduate school in a music conservatory and just sort of feeling a lot of doubt and a lot of feeling like overwhelmed. There's a lot of seriousness in a music conservatory. People are very studious, and music is a serious topic and all this stuff. And I just like lost all the joy in music, which was really troubling for me. I had a really hard time starting out. And then I started realizing that I got into this. I love music for the joy in it, and I love making people smile. And so that was sort of me coming into myself and saying, this is what's important to me. So one of my first big projects of graduate school was I asked my nieces and nephews, who are like 5 and younger, to tell me a story, and I recorded it and then set those words to music that sort of amplified their personalities. So they're all very just silly and quirky and adorable. And that was not something that you found every day in the music conservatory. And so that was really me making myself feel more confident in what I liked, and knowing that that's okay too, and this is still valid. And so that I think just finding the joy and the humor sometimes in music has been what I'm really drawn to.
What advice could you give to our students as we try to just get them to say, hey, be confident in what you've created, in your voice and what you're singing or playing? What advice could you give to them?
I think from a very practical standpoint, I think part of my advice would be just to always keep listening, and you grow as an artist as you consume other art. And if you're wondering what your voice is, if you don't feel like you've gotten it yet, which I don't know if anyone ever lands in one spot, that you just got to keep doing it, and you got to keep, if you love it, you have to listen to music, you have to write constantly, you have to play constantly. I think another thing is that don't be afraid to continue to discover your voice. Like you should be confident, absolutely, in who you are at this moment, but don't be afraid to grow in the next moment and do something different. Especially when you're still young, like just try stuff out, things that feel right to you.
That's great. Thank you so much. That even inspired me I guess I would consider myself a seasoned performer by now, but I still get stage fright every time.
Yeah.
I still get stage fright. And then once I get the first couple of lines out, I just fly from there, and I'm good. Michelle, thank you. I've enjoyed this conversation. I wish it could go on longer.
So, Jasmine, my question for you today is, do you consider yourself a poet? Do you consider yourself a musician? And do you think those are the same thing or different things?
I would not consider myself a musician just because of the musical elements. And I don't have that talent when it comes to arranging music or different things like that. So I would consider myself a poet, a creative, an artist. And yeah, because my focus is more so painting pictures and telling stories through words more so than utilizing music. I mean, I will use music, but it's not necessarily the foundation of my art.
That makes sense. What do you, I feel like there's a lot of definitions of poetry. How do you define poetry?
I would define poetry as storytelling through creative writing. I believe it is a very free art form where the rules aren't incredibly rigid, but I would definitely define it as a creative and imaginative way of telling stories.
That makes sense. I like that storytelling emphasis. That's cool. So what is have you felt inspired to write during the quarantine, or has that been like kind of, I know a lot of artists feel uninspired to write right now. How have you been feeling about writing right now?
Yeah, I've been inspired to write. I'm also working on more of novels as well, but I'm still able to have virtual writing sessions with friends. And I often will use prompts and music and other art forms to inspire my writing. So quarantine, even though it has been tough, I don't think it stifled my ability to create or write, because I think a lot of good art comes out of frustrating times.
So for this prompt, we really want you all to get yourself in the space of reflecting the times that we live in. Right now, we have COVID happening. We've had lots of just losses from that. We've also have seen the murder of George Floyd. We've seen tons of protests and riots and all these events unfolding in our country. And so we want to make sure that you all have a voice to express how you feel about these things. So we want you all to just observing the landscape of current events and everything that's happening in our country, to write a poem or some text, or to write a song based off these current events. You know, Olivia and I talk all the time about ways that we can be creative. So Olivia, I don't know if you would just want to speak to just ways that they can kind of create this original art piece or text. Or
I would just say be creative. Think about what resources you have at home in terms of writing poetry, if there's any instruments you want to involve, even just your own voice and the world around you. And I would say any medium you want to use is totally welcome.
Ooh,